Avi Meyer's Northtown Neighborhood News and Magazine, a presentation of Sonny Hirsch and myself. Dial us up on the web at ntnm.org. All our shows are on YouTube, over 315,000 watched. Congratulations to Can TV for having their new studios in order. We look forward to seeing them. We're back doing regular shows. It is a pleasure to reintroduce you to somebody that I met for the first time on the show a week ago. Our dads used to do business. He's an all-around good guy in the community, knows more people than just about anybody I know, which is saying a lot, by the way. And that is Alvin Boutte. How you doing?
Pretty good, Avi. Thank you very much.
First of all, thank you, and thank you for coming. And you're always involved in whatever's going on civically in Chicago and have all kinds of causes. You know, one of the things we were talking about, and we can get started there, we can move to as many topics as you like, was the situation right now with the Chicago public schools.
Yes.
In which we're filming when we film, but for those of you, just to give you a time frame right now, Barbara Bennett is looking at meeting a number of her former CPS students for 7.5 years early next year.
Yes.
So,
B3, as she's called now, B3.
In any event, the Chicago public schools just don't work.
Well, education as a whole across the country is going through a lot of changes. It was interesting. I go back and forth to a lot of cities in the Midwest, and I was doing business in Detroit just recently. And Detroit has gone through a lot of changes after, of course, the bankruptcy. Detroit right now is 50% charter schools in there. So there's this whole dynamic of shift in terms of what works, how do things work, and accountability across the country.
Now, is this something new? I mean, do they have a track record already, or?
No, I think it's a case of union reform or quote unquote reform. In Detroit, UAW went through the same situation where they're not allowed to organize as much in the workplace and a lot of different issues. So it started with the governor and it's worked its way down, and they started what's called the Michigan Academic Commission, I believe, and it's side by side with the Detroit public school system. But every new school coming on board is a charter school.
See, I don't object to that, and a lot of people don't realize what's involved in some of the union stuff. And I'm not necessarily anti-union, and I think in private industry I'm more in favor of it in general than in public life. And when Franklin Delano Roosevelt was talked about having government employee unions, he was going, God forbid we can't have something like that. He was dead set against it. But for instance, Boone School, which is 2 doors down from my house,
sure.
If they just want to change, they got a sign outside with like those little peg letters. They can't do it themselves if they want to change the sign.
Yeah.
They've got to call somebody from the union. They're going to get charged about $100 to change the sign. It's crazy. And by the way, even in the police department, if the police in any police station want to change the message on their machine, they can't do it themselves.
I think that's the big issue in education. I mean, if something's working or doesn't work and you want to change it, you need to change it. And if you have to go through a long procedure in changing it, that's a hindrance for the kids.
Yeah, see, the thing is, as much sympathy as I can have, for some of the teachers, and many of the teachers are very noble people, who are doing their best for the children. The fact is the children are the ones who have to come first.
Yeah. I try and find a way to believe that everything can work together, labor as well as charters can operate together. I mean, I was joking with a friend of mine on the CTU side. I said, why don't you guys start a charter school? Put an application in. What's holding you back from doing it? They can run it their way. The whole
they
idea
can pay
is
their people everything they want to pay them.
Exactly. I bet they'll find a way to pay them a little bit less, though.
That's not a joke. It's not a joke. I worked for some guys that were 1930s communists at one newspaper. Okay, when part of the business, when the printing part of the business wanted to unionize, they shut it down, and they jobbed the work out.
Oh wow! Wow, yeah, we've seen that in Chicago a couple of times.
Yeah, I mean that's the way.
No names though, no names, right?
Well, these guys are long dead. I wouldn't mind mentioning their names, but there's no point. Okay. But let me ask you this. What about school vouchers? Do you think school vouchers would be a help to the kids in the schools these days?
I'm not as educated on the voucher system. I know where it started in terms of the argument, the ideas. I don't really know where it's at today in terms of what they're talking about, or how it would actually work. My friend Dan Proft pushes it all the time, and he's a big proponent for it. But I don't know what actually has gone into the voucher concept today.
You know, it's been years since I've actually had an update. At one point in time, let's say the average tuition at a private school is about 10 grand. Mm-hmm. It's higher now.
Yeah, much higher.
Okay, and at that time, a voucher would be 5,000.
Okay.
And the public schools were maybe spending 11, 12 per kid.
Mm-hmm.
So if that $5,000 voucher will be enough for the private school, the Chicago Public School therefore has extra resources. They don't have to spend the $12,000 on the kid. They'll have larger resources for a larger number of students. But I don't know the math now either.
Well, think even with charter schools only get $8,000 per student per the CPS allocation. So the rest of what they're getting into is additional grants or just hard work with capital raising from donors, from a donor base.
In the case of, and this is not public education, there were 2 Jewish seminary schools. I mean, basically post-high school. And at one time, one of them had about 20 students and 17 administrators. The other one had about 250 students and 2 administrators.
Wow.
Oh, and a secretary and a half.
Okay.
So, I think it depends who's running what. I mean, sometimes I look at these situations and I say, what, you got the kid and you got the teacher. Yeah. Okay, yeah, you need some textbooks and things, but what more do you need? Do you really need like all these outside administrators, experts, studies, all the rest of it? Does it really help these kids? And then I take a look and, kids my age people my age now might have been 48 kids to a class.
Yeah.
And they actually came out more educated than kids with 22 these days.
Yeah, you're right. I think at the charter school, Beit Shabazz, that I'm on the board of, we have up to 30 per classroom. But some classrooms are smaller, 18, 19, 20, but try and keep them around that 30 number.
That's still $240,000, though.
Yeah.
With $240,000, you can afford a decent teacher.
Exactly.
And you don't necessarily have to put them in the Ritz.
Exactly.
Yeah.
An aide, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, there's a lot of private schools that would love that kind of situation.
Yeah. It was funny. I was preparing, thinking about things as you were telling me some of the things you want to talk about today. And I was thinking back to, when I was growing up, all my friends that were African American, they actually went to Jewish state school. So it was an interesting concept when you think of it today. What gets these kids excited? What keeps the kids involved to get a good, solid education?
Yeah, no, it's true. They actually went to Jewish schools?
Yeah.
Or schools that were primarily in Jewish neighborhoods that...
No, Jewish schools.
Wow.
Yeah.
I know that there were some kids like that. I do know that Ida Crown had a great basketball team one year.
Okay.
But it was your guys. It wasn't ours.
Okay. Yeah, so education's education, and everybody wants a solid education for their kids.
No, and solid education is important, and the fact is, that's one of the things. When you take Title IX money, you are legally obligated to accept everybody, regardless of race, creed, color, religion. Yeah. And no, it's fierce stuff. Yeah. In terms of, we've only got about a couple minutes left here. Let's name another subject real quick.
Okay. Good God, I'm a Sox fan, but the Cubs, everybody's talking about them.
Well, we can talk.
I think we'll know by the time this actually airs what's going to happen this Saturday. But
Saturday, yeah. I mean, as we're filming, the Cubs just won yesterday. I made the absolute mistake of being on this incredible high from watching the Cubs actually win their first series at home ever. I mean, postseason, and then I have to watch the entire Democratic, debate in its entirety live.
There's the topic. It fished out
the
debate. Who looks good? The Democratic Party nationally looks like a shambles for a candidate.
Yeah, they don't. I mean, first of all, besides for the fact that it's these guys are really old too.
Yeah. I think what everybody has to admit is we all like Bernie Sanders. We're just scared of him.
I don't like Bernie Sanders, but I was cheering for him against Hillary.
Okay.
He was the one honest guy in the batch.
Okay.
He was 100% honest. You knew he wasn't coming from an evil place. Mm-hmm. Nobody's going to tell me that Hillary talks like she's an outsider. Please. You can't be more inside than Hillary. Not to mention she's a member of the 1%. I could get started and I wouldn't be able to stop and all the rest of it. But in any event, listen, I'd like to have you back. We can talk about what other subjects you like. The school thing is interesting, though, and I think it's something that people need to talk about more.
Yes.
It's like there's no open conversation about these things. I actually tried having debates between the union and some of the teachers who were not for the union.
Uh-huh.
But the minute the union found out that these anti-union teachers, and they weren't anti-union, they weren't pro-union.
Exactly.
We're going to be on, they refused to send me anybody.
Of course. It's a shame. I mean, the main thing is accountability. I mean, that's what we look at with Barbara Byrd Bennett. Accountability. Who's accountable for these issues? She was obviously, accountable to herself. It's unfortunate.
Very much so. I want to thank you very much, Alvin Boutte. I want to thank my entire tech crew, Sonny Hirsch. Join us again next week for Jim Nally. Take care.
Thank you, son. Avi.